And I do believe we're good to go.
Welcome to this Advanced Metaphysics and Telekia Center here in Richardson. I'm Dr. Tricia Seymour.
I'm Dr. Rusty Barrier.
And this is being recorded, so be aware. We will have time afterwards if you want to talk or ask questions. So we're going to do a little talk and little things tonight is on self-reprogramming and how to deal with the self-talk, the self-sabotage, the ego stories, all that kind of stuff, and how to do it at a really deep level and be able to move beyond all of that stuff that our mind gets busy with.
It does, it is.
And one of the things that we talked about is that these talks are not intended for people who are new into metaphysics, because you need to get some basic understanding of metaphysics and just how things function. These talks are actually for people who've been doing it for a while and things aren't working anymore and they're ready to move to a next level. So our whole goal in these talks is to challenge what you have learned and to make you see things from a different perspective.
As a matter of fact, the only way to move forward in life at all is to question every single belief system you have ever found inside of yourself. And this gets very challenging sometimes because a lot of them are transparent. That means they are so ingrained you don't even know they're there. All right? But before we do that, didn't we want to kind of help them get centered?
We do. We're going to do a little visualization to get centered and to get present here in the class.
So
Let go of the day.
This is sort of, as we go through the night tonight, we're going to distinguish between guided imagery, meditation, guided meditation, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, etc. So this is really just a guided imagery to help you be present here today and leave all of the rest of Wednesday outside. So get comfortable in your chair. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again, as you breathe in peace. And as you exhale, let all the stress and tension just go. Continuing to breathe, I want you to imagine that your tailbone is going straight down into the earth itself, like a root. And as you breathe in, you're drawing the grounding energy of Mother Earth up into you, breathing in the love of Mother Earth, and breathing back out through that root into the earth. With each breath, feel yourself becoming calmer and calmer, more centered, more present. And see all the things now that may have created a disturbance in you during the day or the week itself. And as you breathe in and out, just let all those worries, concerns flow into the earth herself. And breathe in. All right, allow your eyes to open and come fully back here. That's a guided imagery. Okay, how do you feel compared to where you were when we started?
Calmer, more centered, more present.
Your mind might be a little quieter. Yeah, and that's the point of those.
Right, definitely.
All right, now you're on.
Okay. So the topic tonight is about self-reprogramming. So I thought maybe you wanted to understand programming first, and what is programming, and therefore why you would even you have to understand what it is you want to change before you can change it. So what is our programming and why would we want to change it? That's kind of where we're going to start with.
So are we talking about C++, or are we talking about HTTP? Yeah. What are we talking about?
All the above, right.
Yeah, no, that's a different kind of programming, folks.
So programming, we have a bunch of different ways that we're programmed, and everybody is. It's part of the game. We call this a game of life, and this is your avatar, right? That the soul is playing in the game. And so through the game, there's programming. And one way we're programmed is in our DNA. And that literally is science. Your mom and your dad, right? A sperm and an egg got together and they shared some DNA. You could go and have your DNA tested and see where your ancestors are from. You may know where your ancestors are from.
You may think you knew where your ancestors were from.
You get your DNA tested and they're not. So DNA testing is one of those ways to see what's in your DNA. And from that DNA, you have programming.
It programs what color is your hair, what color are your eyes, what color is your skin. It programs the tone of your voice. All height, weight of your body, all of that is part of that internal program in your very genetics.
Right. And so we know in science that sometimes two programs come together and one overrides the other. So if your mother had blue eyes and your dad had brown eyes and you have brown eyes, then brown eyes was a dominant trait and it overrode the blue eyes, right? Overwrote the blue eyes in the program. So sometimes you have conflicting programs and one of them becomes more dominant and writes over the other program. So there's a lot of that happens.
That doesn't mean that program is gone, because you may have a child who has blue eyes, right? So the coding is still there.
And it is possible to have two parents with blue and brown and you end up with blue, even though typically on average the darker color is the more dominant.
Or you end up like someone I knew that had one brown eye and one blue eye.
And that can happen as well. There are all kinds of anomalies that can happen with the DNA. The other thing that happens in our DNA is physiology. And you mentioned, height, weight, that kind of stuff. But it can also be disease. I think it's 23andMe that tells you what your tendencies are towards disease and things like that. And I know that as the future comes, we're going to be able to pinpoint that even more so we can do more preventative things. But the way that we discuss it, and I know science kind of references it this way, is that maybe you have Alzheimer's in your family. You know that your mother or your grandmother or somebody, your great aunt, had Alzheimer's. So more than likely, some part of your DNA strand has the potential to have Alzheimer's. And that there are things that we'll call them switches. That's the way we refer to them, and you can look at it at the code if you talk about it as a video game.
There's ones
and zeros. If you ever look at code on computer code, it's ones and zeros. And if a 1 and a 0 are in the wrong order, it messes with the code, right? And so it's kind of an on-off switch. So you can have a potential for a particular illness. That's why they ask you if your family's had cancer and things like that. And it doesn't ever turn on for you. The switch doesn't get flipped and you don't get Alzheimer's and you don't get cancer and you don't get these diseases that are pre-programmed into your body. And so it really is a bunch of things that affect that and a bunch of things that come into play with that. So there's what you were born with, right? Your genetics, that's one program. That's also, if you think about it, some people will tell you, I'm certain science is going to continue to get more information, but if one person was an alcoholic, that their son may be an alcoholic, or their child may have the same issues. So you may find that in your DNA there's those kind of issues as well. I know they joke about temper, and if, Irish, I don't want to insult anybody. If one person has a really bad temper and then the kid has a really bad temper, and they just kind of, so there are some genetic markers that say that that's very possible emotionally as well in your DNA. So those things can be DNA oriented. But beyond DNA, as we're walking around, our DNA is relatively, please hear the word relatively, set once we're born. Right? Well, you then run into what's called as epigenetics. And this is the next level of programming. And by the way, some of epigenetics you have the ability to deal with yourself. Though generally, scientifically speaking, epigenetics is about things that are outside of your control. Was there a drought during your lifetime? Was there a drought perhaps? And I'm saying this in generically. Right. Or a famine, if you went through a famine.
The Great Depression, most of us have heard about that in this country. And what it was is they've gone through that, they've adapted inside, they realized that, you know, the body needed things that were not available readily at that time, so it shifts your structure a little bit to be able to survive that. Your offspring will now have those changes passed on to them.
They've also found that epigenetics can turn these switches on or off based on things like trauma. If you had childhood trauma, severe childhood trauma, or your mother or your father did, that flips switches or shifted the DNA actually physically in your body. So they're finding more and more connections to childhood issues or traumas or illnesses that are affecting you more as an adult that you never thought would, or that then affect your own children because you passed that on. So if a switch is flipped on that should be off, and then you have a child, they may have that same switch incorrectly marked, incorrectly switched.
Okay.
Anything else about epigenetics?
Nope, I think that covers all the DNA and genetic side of it.
So those are two ways. So what you're born with and what happened to you, right? And so those both are going to affect what happens up here. And that's what we're talking about, self-reprogramming. So we're talking first about what is the program and how does it get created. So part of that program, sort of in the epigenetic side, but also along the, since we're both psychotherapists, along the side of trauma, could also be just someone in your life who told you were stupid all the time, or someone in your life that told you were wrong, and you got a lot of messages that stayed in your head too. And that's part of what we'll talk about later about self-reprogramming.
Right.
That those thoughts can stay in your head as well.
I wouldn't put that under epigenetics.
No, it's not epigenetics. No.
That's moving into
more
social hypnosis,
right,
and social programming. Now, social programming, all of us have this. All right, we got it from mom, we got it from dad, we got it from grandma, we got it from grandpa, we got it from the church, we got it from the school system, we get it from the government. This is social programming. These are the things where we are taught to be, are considered socialized. All right, not socialist, socialized.
And that's also social mores.
It is.
So it's what your country or culture believes is right or wrong, right? What your parents believe was right or wrong. And so those are not bad things. We all need that in order to function with each other. We
Right.
need to know what is acceptable in my family, what's acceptable in my culture in order to continue.
And it is very, very cultural. Okay. If you were raised in the Middle East, there are certain behaviors there that are considered normal, moral, and okay. But if you come to the West, not so much. All right. Now the challenge is,
And vice versa.
and vice versa. That's why Iran refers to the U.S. as the Great Satan, and we kind of feel the same way about them. It's belief systems. So what we're going to start working towards, especially with the social hypnosis, is you have to look at the belief systems. Most of these are going to be in the transparent variety.
Which means,
Right.
I know you sort of mentioned it.
Which means
what
you
is
don't
that?
see them. They're
Right.
just they are an embedded operating system inside of you. You can find them, and this is where you have to have help from others, though. This is where therapy helps. This is where support groups help. This is where friends help sometimes. All right? They can tell you about your behaviors and how you act in certain situations that you may not see.
Well, and one of the things is people are like, oh, I'm not prejudiced at all. And then they have judgments about somebody else for some reason, whether it's socioeconomic or whether it's their skin color or whatever. And you go, that's a transparent belief. That's something you don't realize you have that we all do. I mean, that's just part of being on this planet.
Part of being on this planet. Right? Now, social hypnosis also includes the media, folks. What are you exposing yourself to every single day? And I don't care what channel you listen to. If you want to listen to CNN or you want to listen to Fox, I think OAN's gone now. But whatever, they both have their opinions, right? Both of them, or if you listen to either of those exclusively, it's going to start forcing belief systems onto you. And forcing is not the right word.
Implanting.
You're opening yourself up and accepting those belief systems.
Programming.
Kind of, huh?
They programming.
Yeah, kind of programming. Those
That's why it's called programming.
Right. That's why they call it programming on TV, right? So, yeah, so it's kind of programming. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to challenge you to maybe take like a 30-day media fast.
And that includes Facebook.
Where you don't go and watch this. I'll specifically say the news, but where you don't go look at the news, and that includes Yahoo and Google and all the news things online as well. I use Facebook in a positive way because I just look at positive stuff. I don't want to look at all the people complaining to each other. But literally take a break from news specifically of any kind. Just even a week if you can, and don't watch the news. And see if it shifts how you see the world. Because again, if you think about it, TV and even radio is relatively new in our evolution as human beings.
Right.
And the bombardment we have now with 24-hour news and social media on our phones and everything all the time is not what our bodies are accustomed to, or our nervous system, or any of that kind of stuff. We're really accustomed to more downtime than we allow ourselves in modern society.
If you think about what you hear on the news or see in the news, none of it is really positive. It all elicits either a fear or anger response a lot of times, and they're doing that intentionally, folks. They are doing that to keep you from being quiet, all right? So just as Tricia said, take that time away. Even if you if you don't want to do 30 days, that's kind of hard to do. You know, it's kind of like saying, I'm going to start fasting. I'm going to go 30 days without eating anything but water. No, you're not. You're going to go 3 days and you're going to give up. All right? So start out. Today I'm not going to listen to the news. Today I'm not going to read the news. Whatever it may be, however you're consuming, and please hear who's responsible for consuming, that's you. What you're
Is that why they call us consumers?
Yeah.
We're consuming the news.
We're consuming the
and
news.
The media.
And the media. But that means that you're making a conscious choice to take that in. Right, so it's very important.
And that's part of what we're talking about today, is taking things from being unconscious, where we normally just go home and flip on the TV or flip open our tablet or laptop and watch and read all that stuff. We're asking you to make a conscious effort to live your life. Be conscious, make a choice. If you want to watch the news once a week or whatever, just make that conscious choice to watch the news, or to whatever, social media or whatever.
Whatever it is, you have the right and the ability to just go click and be done with it.
So when we talk about what is programming, we're talking about a number of different things. So we just talked about how we're programmed. We're programming our DNA, we're programming the experiences we've had in our life, our epigenetics, we're programmed in what we consume and put in our body and our minds. And so how does that affect us? One of the ways it affects us.
You're looking at me?
I know, you didn't say anything, so I'll go on. One of the ways that it affects us is self-talk.
Yes. And all of us have a conversation that runs 24/7, 365, right up here between our ears. It's constantly going. By the way, it is not you. It is not you. It's just your brain repeating information. All right? Self-talk. What are you telling yourself about yourself? All right?
And about life.
And about life.
If you watch news a lot, I'd be telling myself, life's not safe. People get hurt too often. Life's not safe.
Yeah.
I should be worried.
But let's not even go to that yet. Let's just talk about what we tell ourselves, because what you hear yourself telling yourself is going to also give you clues to those transparent beliefs. All right? If you miss your...
What do you call that?
What?
The things you tell yourself.
Self-talk.
It's that simple. Self-talk.
Self-talk.
So either if you're hearing it or you're telling yourself.
Yeah, you're hearing it in your head.
Oh, darn, sorry.
But you might look in the mirror and say it to yourself too, or you may say it out loud. But what do you say when you miss your exit on the freeway? All right? Does that become, oh, you stupid idiot, you knew where to turn and you still missed it? That's not going to help you much in life. That's going to have an effect on other areas as well. All right? What would happen if you missed that turn? And you go, okay, well, there's another 1 mile away. I'll just go there and make a U-turn and go back. And it doesn't really matter if I'm a few minutes late. Not always the easiest thing to do in the moment. But if you're constantly tearing yourself down, right? What an idiot, how stupid, I knew better than that. Guess what? That's going to bleed through into every area of your life. You may be less skilled at, say, dominoes than you are at poker. I'm less skilled at both of those, by the way. But if you're constantly berating yourself, here you're hammering your own self-confidence, your own self-worth. So now the one that you're supposed to be really good at, that's now going to come over, and suddenly you're going to start questioning your decisions here as well. So you have to be very aware of that. There is a statement that says, and I'm going to say it's true, that we have approximately 60,000 thoughts every single day. 90% of them are exactly the same thoughts we had yesterday and the day before that, and the same ones we'll have tomorrow. Now, think how much you could change your life if you changed 10% of those thoughts. If you simply claimed control over an extra 10% of your thoughts. Might make a little difference. And that's what self-talk is.
Self-talk also can come from, we mentioned media, it can come from media, and it can become a comparison. Mm-hmm. So it can be, that person on TV is really thin, I want to be like them. Oh, how awful I am that I'm so fat and I'm terrible, and so it becomes self-berating. And I sort of alluded to it at the beginning, but it can also be things we heard in our childhood that we're continuing to carry forward.
Money is the root of all evil, which, by the way, is a misquote. The love of money is the root of all evil.
But if you believe that money is the root of all evil, that's going to affect your income and going to affect your ability to have good income.
Because why would I want to accumulate evil?
So what takes place, and this is where we're going to move into, is it comes from, we can bring it conscious and make it, and you need to bring it conscious so you're aware that it's there and what you're doing and what you're saying to yourself. But this all happens unconsciously. This is in your subconscious. And your subconscious actually runs your life. Your subconscious actually runs your life. So what is hidden, transparent, what you can't see, what's in there from long years ago or whatever, those phrases, those stories, that information, that's actually what's making the decisions for you today. Mm-hmm. And if they weren't healthy and the information that you got as a kid or a young adult wasn't healthy, then your answers today are not going to be healthy.
Correct. And
so it's about how can I reprogram that message I got, or that I brought in, or that I told myself even that I wasn't good enough in some way, and how can I reprogram that? So people use affirmations. So again, we talk about the old way versus the new way. So people were like, oh, you just need to do your affirmations, positive affirmations every day. I am present, I am pretty, I am happy, positive affirmations. And people found that they might have helped a little, but they really didn't change the story. And that's why we're teaching this. We've got to go to another level.
Right.
They're nice, they're good to have positive thoughts and be positive, but they can't change the old programming. You're just like trying to put a Band-Aid on a really deep sore.
You're trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Right, it doesn't work.
With that though, as you're talking about some of those subconscious beliefs, be aware that as they arise, you're going to have resistance to changing them.
No. No way.
Yeah, way. But yes, you're going to have resistance because they're ingrained. And this is going to set you up for another little trick along the way, and that's called ego traps. Right? Because now you've discovered, a transparent belief. I don't like that anymore. Get that? I was 3 years old when I made that decision. I'm 43 now. I don't need that. Right? And now all of a sudden your ego says, see, look how great I am. And the next thing you know is you go, well, if I'm that great, well, he's not. And we get into, as Tricia said, into the comparison.
And the judgments.
And the judgments.
Yeah.
The truth is, we are all who we are. We are all perfect, whole, and complete children of God and Goddess, source, whatever. And that's what we want you to remember. That's the core that's underneath all of these beliefs, both visible and transparent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they sabotage our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So those ego traps really, we may say, oh, I want to get a better job, and yet we have that self-talk that says, oh, I'm not worthy. And so I could stay stuck in a job I'm not happy in. Or, we have those, they just are the things, again, that self-talk we tell ourselves sabotages our success. And no matter how many affirmations you do, you can't get past it.
Right.
You get stuck.
Yeah, and a good example of that. Are you looking for us or the breath group or the sound healing?
The other side of the building.
Okay.
I use my dad as an example a lot. I love my father. He was a good father. He was a good man, but he was who he was. And one of his challenges is he was raised in a particular, I'm not going to say religion because he was Christian and not all Christians are this way, but his particular church he grew up in was extraordinarily fear-based. So this is a man that could have won $100 million lotto and his first statement was, crap, I got to pay taxes. All right? That's where his brain would go.
Right.
Right? Because it's a fear base. Right? That's one of the big things. That's how we're looking and why we're looking for some of these beliefs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so we kind of left the carrot out there. They are changeable. Mm-hmm. So I won't say that they're the easiest thing in the world to change, but they are changeable.
And by the way, changing your beliefs is an entire day-long class in and of itself at some point.
We're going to give you like the cliff notes
Yeah.
of one thing you can do to help shift those beliefs. That's really it. And so what this class is about reprogramming those beliefs. So once you know what they are and you know what it is that you don't want to keep, and one of the ways to do that, which I recommend to my own clients, is journaling. Start being honest in your journal. Write down how you're feeling, what you're thinking. Write down that self-talk. Mm-hmm. Write down your judgments about other people. Write down your judgments about yourself. Write those things down so you can look at them and decide if they're old and you want them to move on. Again, one of the things you're going to hear from us is we will never tell you just to fake it till you make it.
No.
That doesn't work.
Never did, never will.
Self-sabotage will kick in really fast. You have to understand. So when you're going through a hard time, you need to cry, you need to yell, you need to have emotions, and then you can move on. So it's not about pretending that the negative things aren't there. It's about facing them, your shadow, facing them full on, saying, I see you, I know who you are, I maybe even know where it came from. I know that when I hear this comment in my head, that's my mom's voice, or I hear this comment, that's my uncle's voice, and they're not they're negative, and you can identify them. And the more you can identify them, the more you can make them solid, the more you can put them out here on paper and not just in here, the better off you are, because then you've recognized them, and once you recognize them, you can move them on.
You don't want to go head on and try and tear them apart. All right, as Tricia said, recognize where they come from, and then you can go, okay, well, thanks, Mom, but that no longer serves me where I am now. That was good when I was blah, blah age. Now I'm here. Now I'm the adult. I have a choice. And you begin to very gently make those changes. Gentleness is always better than trying to force your way through, because the harder you push back.
The resistance.
And resistance creates pain.
Yes, and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. It's better to go with the flow and do it gently. Right. And so, so in order to reprogram, so once you've got it out there and you know some of the things you want to change and some of the thought patterns that aren't healthy or aren't benefiting you anymore, then you go to, so, okay, I've identified the problem, now what do I do, right? And so we're going to talk now just real briefly about different things that people use and what the difference of them are. So meditation, guided imagery, hypnosis, and self-hypnosis. Those are kind of the things we're going to discuss. They are all different, yet have some similar components. So to start with meditation, meditation is a great way to calm your mind and clear your head.
But it is not about having mystical experiences. It is not about getting great insight. It is about calming your mind. Ultimately, meditation should just drop you into complete silence. Right? Now, it may take you 40, 50, 60, 70 years of meditating an hour a day to get there, and it may happen the first time you try.
But that's the
Right?
true goal of
That's
meditation,
the true
is
goal.
to quiet your mind, is to help your mind stop chatting. All that self-talk, to help your
Well-
mind stop all that chatter.
And you hear teachers all the time say, what you want to do is fall into the gaps between the thoughts. Now, I'm sorry, what the heck does that mean? With meditation, where it begins is you're just there and you're just chattering away. Chat, 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 chat. Take a deep breath. Step back in your mind, listen to the chat, 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 but realize it's not you. It's just chatter, as if there was a TV or a radio on out there somewhere. Then you begin to say, okay, now I've got this out here. Keep trying to be quiet. Keep being still. Oh, what's this theme that seems to be running in this chatter? Oh, I need to pay this bill, I need to pay that bill, oh, I need to do this, and suddenly it's your to-do list. Okay, well, all right, hi there. I'll get to you. Go back to your breath and go back in. Falling between the gaps in your thoughts simply means recognizing that they aren't you. All right? They're still gonna run. Right? You can be in that place of silence. Trust me, there's still thoughts that are running in your brain. You're just not attached to it anymore. You're now in that space of peace and removal, a detachment from the thoughts.
And a lot of people use meditation. They call the thoughts clouds, thought clouds, and you just watch the cloud go by, or the thought comes in your head and you go, okay, thank you, and you let it go. You don't hold on and dig deeper into the thought.
Mm-mm.
That's the point of meditation. The point of meditation is to quiet your mind so that there's more and more space between the thoughts until eventually the thoughts are gone and you're just in the space. That does take a while for most people. It can happen right away, but encourage you, if you do meditation, to continue doing it.
Sometimes it happens when you breathe.
There are other kinds of meditation that are used. There's guided meditation, which is like a guided imagery. They're really, really similar. If there's any difference whatsoever, the goal would be, again, at the end of the guided trip, is a silent part where you quiet your mind down. There's walking meditations, but again, those are intended to get you present so that your brain isn't worried about your to-do list and it's focused on what's here under my feet, what flower is here right now. The Buddhists use meditations when you open an orange, be present with it, smell it. They call those meditations, like living a meditative life. And so meditation can be lots of different things, but the one that's probably the most beneficial to what our conversation is when you try to work at watching the thoughts just flow by, don't attach to them, and try to find that calm in between, rather than a guided imagery.
And if you listen to what Tricia just said, every single one of those forms of meditation has a very common goal, and that is to detach you from the chat, 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 our monkey mind that's just going all the time. When you're focused on that orange and you're feeling the juices as you're peeling it, you're smelling the aroma, you're detached from that noise completely. When you're walking, and Thich Nhat Hanh was the first one that I knew that taught walking meditation. When you're walking and you're present to the feel of the earth beneath your feet, the breeze on your skin or in your hair, the aromas of the flowers, the sound, you're not attached to the monkey mind.
And an overlap there is the guided meditation or guided imagery. And guided imagery is what 99.9% of the people in the spiritual metaphysical world use. They either have been taught it or they've just kind of make it up, which is fine. And its goal normally is to help you feel peaceful. So then, or to find a safe place you can go to, or to help you just relax your body some. And so guided imagery is where you start on a journey and you go to the mountains or the river or whatever place is beautiful for you, and it uses all your senses. So what do you smell? What do you hear? What do you see? Guided imagery is what, as I said, when you go to a spiritual type event, 99% of what they're doing would fall in a category of guided imagery. It's a good tool to have.
It's a good tool. It's a very good tool.
It's an easy tool to use.
And it's a way of moving your conscious mind slightly aside so that information can get down into your unconscious or subconscious. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, I believe, the different brainwave states. But basically, where we are right now,
that's kind of what we're talking about now.
We're kind of talking about that now.
Go into
Good.
that now.
I'm heading for it.
Good.
Thanks for permission to do what I was doing there.
Go for it.
Husband training.
Honey. Go for it, honey.
Anyway, alpha. Right now, we are all sitting here basically in a state called beta. It is it's an actual brainwave state. If we hooked you up to an EEG, it would be in a beta or waking state. If you are at the Mavs game and you're like this, you are in what's known as a gamma state, which is a very high energy, high movement, high focus type of state.
Not a state you want to stay in long term because it's deleterious to your health.
Right.
That's a really high stress level, but sometimes it is because you're at a game and you're excited, or and energy's going, or a fire breaks out, and all of a sudden you get really hyper to get it done. Get people out of the building. That kind of a state. So that's gamma. That's like the highest, fastest your brain can go. Very focused, very right here, very present. But that's not a state you want to stay in.
You don't want to stay there. And
beta is a normal state.
Beta is your normal thing. High beta, right at the bottom of gamma, is really truly pretty much a fear state, by the way, because you're in fight or flight. It's getting that energy up in case you need to fight something or run from something or whatever. I'm going to bounce back just a little to where we were talking earlier about the programming and the media fast. That's what the media does to us. It keeps us in a constant state of fight or flight. All right. Our bodies were designed to be in fight or flight for a few moments. Okay, I'm under attack by a bear. I've got to either run or fight, but I've got to do it. Okay, I got away from the bear. Our body calms back down and goes into low beta or alpha, which is the next state.
So when you go to work every day, right? You got to do your job, you got to interact with people, or you got to drive a car. That's normally going to be beta.
Mm-hmm.
Things that you have to do every day, things that take a little bit of focus, things that you have to accomplish. That's our normal brainwave, which is, especially if it's not really high beta, if it's just middle or low beta, that's great. Know that spiritual experiences and meditations and things like that take you to the lower levels of brain waves, where again, if you were literally hooked up to an EEG machine, you could see EEG machine, you could actually see your brain slowing down as you move to
biofeedback is what you're looking for.
That's what. Thank you. Thanks for finding that word in my head. Or a biofeedback machine. You can actually watch the brain waves slow down.
Which, by the way, we have one of those, and I just haven't brought it to the center yet.
So the next one that you get to is alpha.
And
that's a little slower. It's a good thing.
And alpha is a state where most of us are taught super learning, that type of thing. It's just that next drop below beta. You're more relaxed, you're more open, and it really feels good. All right.
It's kind of where guided imagery usually takes you to.
That's really what guided imagery does. Is it puts you into an alpha state. All right. My brain's having a word problem
now. See if I can
now.
find the word in your head.
I took this training in my 20s. You'd think I'd remember the name of it.
You would think.
It'll come back. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so if you ever remember your dreams, lucid dreaming or remembering your dreams, being aware that you have the dream, being aware that you're in a dream, all of that kind of stuff is basically a low alpha.
Yeah,
so
you're at a deep alpha at that point.
It's the low alpha state is where you're remembering what you dreamed, what you dreamt. So alpha, again, high, low, middle, whatever, alpha brainwaves is normally where guided imagery gets you. Okay, and we'll talk in a few minutes about self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis can take you there as well, although it can take you farther down. The advantage to slowing your brain waves down more is it helps you deal with stress, it helps you clear your mind, it helps you get to that programming. We want to get to the programming, the root of the programming, and pull it out. So we want to get to lower levels of brain waves. That's what we're looking for. So the next one is theta.
And theta is this amazing space. You may or may not remember it when you're there, but it's sort of, the best way for me to describe it is deep sleep, but not dreamless sleep. When you are in very deep alpha and top end theta, you're in a dream state, but you will still remember those dreams. It is possible to be able to function in a theta state and be conscious in a theta state, but it takes a lot of work. All right.
Monks that have meditated for years and years and walk around like kind of cool, like, oh, life's great, they're probably hanging out more in a high theta.
Or they're stoned, one or the other.
Well, that's possible too. I don't know if a monk is, but so it is possible to be in a theta state more, even in a waking state, but most of us don't do that or can't do that. That's really not what most of us have the ability or practice to do.
And then the next state that comes after that is delta. And now you are in truly deep dreamless sleep. When Tricia and I go to oneness, if you've had a oneness experience, if you were hooked to an EEG at that time, you would be in delta.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. It's just
really calm. And I didn't mention with theta, theta is where, again, even meditation, when you get to that space between the words where you're quiet too, that's you're probably going down into theta.
Theta is a good way, if you can learn how to get there. It's a good way to go to revitalize your body. It's also a space to go into, and I don't like the word intent because it's been overused over the last few years. But what your intent is, you can go into theta with an intent. I'm going in here to release of memory. I'm going in here to release
And hypnosis, the goal of hypnosis is to take you into some kind of a theta state, so deeper than a guided imagery. Right. So back to the definitions, we mentioned meditation and guided imagery. The other one is hypnosis. So hypnosis is different. Hypnosis still might have some kind of a guided imagery to begin with to get you started. Then it takes you deeper and deeper and relaxes you more to access your unconscious mind. So what happens, that's where you want to get to with hypnosis or even self-hypnosis if possible, because that's where you're going to find the root of these sabotaging beliefs, right? Self-talk, and pull it out.
And part of the reason you can find them when you're in those states is you're no longer fighting yourself. Your ego, as you drop from alpha to theta, even from beta to alpha, what's happening is you're moving your ego aside. Your ego really lives in beta gamma. Okay? It's still present in alpha, but it's starting to kind of go at that point. Right?
And so with hypnosis, the difference is, remember, guided imagery, the goal really is kind of relaxation, maybe helping your muscles relax so you have less pain. That's guided imagery. Hypnosis has an intent. Mm-hmm. So the biggest difference about hypnosis, one is it takes you deeper than you can in guided imagery. And two, it has a very focused intent. Hypnosis is not intended to help you relax. Hypnosis is intended to go in and remove those things you want to remove. So, people use hypnosis for weight loss.
Or to put in things you want to put in.
Or to put in things you want to put in. Because you're going to such a deeper level in your brain. So hypnosis for weight loss. Hypnosis, they use hypnosis in addictions. Hypnosis in chronic pain. In stopping smoking. Behavior changes that you want to see done. Or as you said, things you want to put in to replace those, pull out the negatives, whatever that is, and put in the positives. Again, because it happens more at the deeper levels of brainwaves like theta, hypnosis is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
And does it really work?
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
We're both actually trained in hypnosis, clinical hypnosis.
She's trained in medical hypnosis. I'm trained in Ericksonian hypnosis, and one of the things that both of those teach is that every single one of us right now is walking around in a trance state. And all hypnosis does is shifting the level of that trance so you can do
It's like replacing one program with another that you want.
But now it's one you want.
Right.
Exactly.
Now you get to
Right.
pick which program it is, right? So before you go there, so the one thing I want to address is the question that was asked. The one thing that every person trained in hypnosis, and in this country, anybody can really be trained in hypnosis. In a lot of other countries, you have to be a psychologist to be trained in
actually
hypnosis.
be a professional.
You have to have the education and the training as a therapist, and before you be a psychotherapist, before you ever go to learn hypnotherapy. But whether you do it that way or you learn it on your own or however you do, hypnosis can never override your moral beliefs. It can never make you do something that you would not normally do. So if somebody hypnotized you and told you to go rob a bank, and you would normally never go rob a bank,
You're still not going to rob a bank.
You're still not going to go rob that bank.
If you would normally go rob a bank, you're probably in there.
Yeah, it'll get rid of the inhibition and you're probably over there robbing a bank. But it will never, your mind and your system is so well built and autonomous in the game that I don't have, even with the skills I have in clinical hypnosis, the ability to make you do something that you would not normally do. Now,
Hollywood got a hold of hypnosis.
Yeah, made it look like everybody
and they
can
did
make
things
everybody
like
do.
Manchurian Candidate and things like that. Those are not real. That is
Right.
Hollywood.
Right.
I was going to say Manchurian Candidate, but you got you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right, and so the other thing that happened was stage hypnosis. And so you go into Vegas and you have a stage hypnotist. And they put you in a little light trance and they tell you to do stuff. And people get up and do it. The truth is, the people that are volunteering and the people that are doing it are probably extroverts. And they would probably love their 15 minutes of fame, jumping around the stage, quacking like a duck, even if they weren't hypnotized. Now you remove that little bit of inhibition that said you really aren't supposed to do that, and they do it anyway. So all they're doing is they're selecting people or asking for volunteers who normally would be extroverts and have fun doing it, and then they're encouraging behavior that they want to see in this person, and the person's doing it because they want to do it anyway. So again, if you go to a stage hypnotist and you're on stage and they tell you to quack like a duck and you don't want to quack like a duck, you will not quack like a duck. Quack. Right? They actually cannot make you do something you would not normally do when you were fully in control and awake.
Right.
I mean, it's literally impossible. Okay? But if there is that little bit of break on there that goes, oh, I shouldn't go up there and quack like a duck. I really want to, but I shouldn't. Then he can remove that little question and you go up there and you quack like a duck. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's one of the questions is, can somebody make me do something I wouldn't do? And the answer is no. And holding up a bank or hurting someone else, any of those things that go against the essence of who you are, they cannot make you do. Okay? Good. So if you think about it, again, meditation's purpose is to calm your mind, find the space between words, and be centered, and hopefully, go home. Go to oneness. Guided imagery's goal is to take you down a little bit so your brain's a little quieter and you're a little bit calmer and you have some stress.
And have an experience.
And have an expence,
Have an
right? Maybe go
experience.
see your spirit guides or go see angels
Right.
or whatever. That's guided imagery, okay?
Or visit a past life to to reclaim a mastery you may have had.
Right, that's all guided imagery. Hypnosis is very intent driven. So that's why you have to identify what that self-talk is, right?
Mhm.
You have to identify what those negative thoughts are that you have that are programmed in your mind, or even people have used hypnosis to heal their body.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say everybody can. I'm not going to say that that's the way it always does, but I do know people who have used hypnosis to help their body heal.
Well, one of the things in my training is they actually showed videos of Eric Erickson
Yes.
doing it, and he literally had one man who was in a wheelchair, could not stand when he was in his normal waking state. He dropped him into theta, stood up and walked across the room. Because the body was capable, but the mind was not. All right, that now brought him back up. He still couldn't walk. All right, so there are things that we can access with it that make a huge difference. Hypnosis, all of these, because you are altering your state of consciousness, basically from the normal beta that we're in down a little bit lower, are about giving you access to abilities that you didn't necessarily know you had. Right?
So can it override your belief system then?
It can rewrite your belief systems to a certain
And if that's your
extent,
goal, then that's what
but
you
it
focus
has
on.
to be a belief system that you're willing to let go of.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not sure if I should bring, I've got some questions, I'm not sure if I should bring this up on camera or not.
Well, we're going to do a Q&A in a few minutes. If you can hold on to them,
Okay.
then we can do that. So what I want to give you is, so now what we're going to focus on for reprogramming, because of everything we've just talked about, is hypnosis, and then self-hypnosis. Okay? So self-hypnosis, you probably won't go as deep as you do with somebody who's trained. When you do a hypnotherapy session with somebody that has a lot of training and knows what they're doing, and you can let go, you'll probably go deeper than if you try to do it yourself. The best thing that I know with self-hypnosis is to record your own voice.
Yes.
So again, it's intent driven. Figure out what it is you want to let go of and what it is you want in its place, right? Remember, we want to look at the positives, and so we want to focus on what we want in the place of what that negative thought or belief is. Then you record a 15-minute thing maybe on your own voice. You can play some music if it helps you, whatever, and you do it so that you can listen to it later. And then you listen to it multiple times, not just once. And that's probably my suggestion. And then we'll give you the outline of how to make your own. So that's kind of what's next. Is how do I do that then, right?
So is that what I'm doing?
I don't know what you're going to say, sorry.
That was it.
Okay, go for it.
Good.
So there's 4 stages.
There's 4 stages. The first stage is the induction. All right, and this is something that, and we're actually encouraging you to go home tonight and make a recording, by the way, or whatever night when you're watching this video, or day, or whenever. The induction is just about giving yourself permission to relax. Right? For me, probably the best thing to do is to see yourself at like the top of a long escalator or staircase, and you close your eyes, you let yourself start breathing, and then you just go down from 10, 9.
You're going to put us all in a trance if you keep going.
8. You hear the pausing, hear the pacing.
Right, that's
Right.
another part of it.
That's
It's
another
very
part
slow.
of it, is you're pacing with that slow breath. By the time you get to 1 on that one, you will be in alpha. All right, it's very easy to do this. All right.
And what you would do with that then is, so you can use any visualization you want. The escalator
Yeah.
kind of visualization or an elevator or something like that is a normal thing in hypnosis. And so you go down and you count 10 backwards down, and you count very slow, and you're doing this as you remember you were going to write this out. You can probably find scripts about what you want online, but then you record it.
But what you can't do is you get your script and you go, all right, I'm going down from 10, 9, 8, 7,
No.
6, 5, 4,
That's why
3, 2, 1.
your mind, when I'm telling you to record it, your mind cannot be involved when you're actually doing it.
Right.
Okay, your mind cannot be involved when you're actually doing it. That's why you need it on something separate, a recording. And I'm sure you can even buy tapes that were MP3s or whatever that have some kind of self-hypnosis. But because it's intention driven, you want it to be specifically geared to what it is you want. So again, what you want to remove and what you want to replace it with. That's what our gearing here is, right? So once you get down to 10, then the next step is
Deepening.
going even farther.
Going deeper.
Remember, we said at that point you're probably only in
Alpha.
alpha. We want to get you to theta.
You're probably here in alpha. We want you to get to at least here in alpha, maybe not to theta. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to get to theta in self-hypnosis.
But at least low alpha,
Low
right?
alpha. And deepening again is just giving yourself the suggestion. I'm going deeper and deeper. I'm feeling more and more relaxed. Right? I did a session with a gentleman yesterday. It was an actual hypnosis, not this, but once I got into the deepening part, I had him on a dock. You know, he liked boats. And so you find imagery that you like, and he liked boats, so I put him on a dock. He's already relaxed, he's already going down. Now he gets in the boat moves out across the stream, and now.
So there is some level of
just
visualization
floating.
with it, right?
And I'm floating, the more I'm just relaxing as I float, and hear the languaging, relaxing, floating, drifting. And then you've just gone a little deeper.
And the other thing you're going to hear, and I'm intentionally not doing it yet, the other thing you're going to hear is somebody who's trained in hypnosis has a hypnosis voice.
You've heard my voice as it shifted for this.
So you know Rusty's normal voice, but when he's doing hypnosis, he shifts into a hypnosis voice.
It's a deeper, softer, different spacing, different pacing. And now you're feeling calmer, more relaxed. You know, it's easy to do that.
So
I can put anybody to sleep.
Heck, you
trust
can
me.
feel your own body now relaxing as he's talking.
But this is what I'm saying, you get to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then as you're making your own tape,